Welcome to Shadowwatch Chronicles, where today's spotlight is fixed upon a scandal that has permeated the digital corridors of social media. For those entrenched in the realm of animation, the name Kyle Carrozza resonates, a seasoned animator whose footprint extends across Nickelodeon, Cartoon Network, and Comedy Central, punctuated by the sidelines of 2 podcasts and a fleeting stint with his own creation, Mighty Magiswords. However, amidst the accolades lies the shadow of controversy, intricately woven with fellow Mighty Magiswords animator Anj Vandra, a saga we'll delve into shortly. But first, let's navigate the labyrinth of Kyle's backstory. Born on May 19, 1979, in Catskill, New York, Kyle Adam Carrozza's creative roots were nurtured by childhood influences ranging from Bob Clampett's Looney Tunes to the whimsy of Beanie and Cecil, Schnookums and Meat, and the irrepressible Garfield. High school days saw a parallel fascination with anime, with titles like Ranma 1/2 and Project AKO leaving an indelible mark. The 90s unfolded with Carrozza immersing himself in the Center for Character Animation classes under the tutelage of cartoonist Brian Mitchell during summer recess. A graduate of Catskill High School in 1997 and the Art Institute of Philadelphia in 1999, Kyle embarked on a journey through the tapestry of animation. In the late 90s, Carrozza cut his teeth on storyboard projects for independent ventures that, despite their promise, failed to secure a place in the limelight. His trajectory led to Startoon Studios, where, as a high school senior, he contributed to Animaniacs with Cleanup and In-Betweens, 2 decades before his full-time engagement in the reboot. A subsequent chapter unfolded at Funny Bone Interactive in Canton, Connecticut, where Kyle donned the hats of animator, voice actor, and character contributor for specific Jumpstart titles: The Tale of Moobeard, The Cow Pirate, a short picked up by Frederator Studios and featured on the ephemeral random cartoons for Nicktoons Network, underscores Carrozza's resilience despite the series' failure to secure a lasting berth. His journey continued with storyboard contributions to projects such as Fanboy and Chum Chum, Fish Hooks, Doc McStuffins, alongside Flash Animation, and Sponge Out of Water, weaving a tapestry of artistic ebbs and flows. Notwithstanding these well-articulated arguments, Kyle is known for being a thorny guy to interact with. In 2015, a Facebook discussion about Princess Peach's role in Mario 3D World prompted Kyle to lose his composure when an artist asserted that it was the first instance of Peach being playable outside of a spin-off or a ROM hack. During his stint on DeviantArt, Kyle engaged in the process of pitching a show concept to Adult Swim, christening it The Ladies. While some observers drew parallels, deeming it a superior rendition of Adult Party cartoon, any mention of the less favored Naked Beach Frenzy triggered a swift and vehement retort from Kyle: "Stop bringing up that show. It has nothing to do with that crap." In 2012, when a fan casually expressed their disapproval of Fanboy and Chum Chum on someone's Facebook post, but noted they liked the title cards, Kyle saw it and interpreted it as a personal attack. In response, he vehemently rebuked the individual, urging them to withhold their opinions and even issuing a threat to sever their online connection. Subsequently, Kyle mobilized his fan base to target the dissenter with a barrage of insults on the fans' Tumblr, pressuring them to issue an apology. Further exacerbating the situation, Kyle anonymously dispatched a scathing message to the artist, condemning their perceived lack of fundamental cartooning principles, critiquing their artwork as rudimentary, akin to that of a 4th grader. Additionally, baseless accusations were levied, insinuating the artist's involvement in posting inappropriate material on Tumblr, despite the individual's limited engagement merely extending to retweeting NSFW artwork of a tasteful nature. In 2016, Kyle was caricatured as a troll in the South Park episode Wieners Out. Anj Vandra, a distinguished YAC alum, contributed significantly to the entirety of the runtime of Mighty Magiswords. Despite contending with chronic fatigue syndrome, CFS for short, a condition that undoubtedly presented formidable challenges, Vandra's dedication and artistic prowess shone through in her work on the show. Outside the professional realm, as a means of coping with personal trauma, Vondra found solace in expressing her creativity through the creation of not-safe-for-work artwork inspired by the iconic animated series Invader Zim. This private endeavor served as an outlet for her emotional well-being. Regrettably, the privacy of her artistic pursuits was violated when Carrozza, the creator of Mighty Magiswords, caught wind of her personal artwork. Without due consideration for the context and therapeutic nature of her creations, Carrozza levied serious accusations against Vondra, baselessly accusing her of pedophilia. This unfounded accusation prompted a collaboration with Holly Meadow Dish, a close associate with Carrozza, in an ill-conceived attempt to disseminate Vondra's artwork among colleagues and friends. This act, ostensibly intended to serve as a cautionary warning, resulted in a breach of Vondra's privacy and had severe repercussions for her professional standing. This orchestrated smear campaign was not limited to Carrozza and Dish. Artist Jay Goldstein, also known as Trubaggy, allegedly contributed to a call-out thread that echoed the damaging narrative propagated by Carrozza and Dish. The collective impact of these actions proved devastating for Vondra. Having already faced adversity, including the trauma of sexual assault that led to the loss of her previous job, she found herself unjustly blacklisted from the animation industry. Despite a handful of sporadic opportunities, her professional prospects were severely compromised, painting a distressing picture of the consequences wrought by the breach of privacy and the ensuing character assassination. Vondra's association with Holly Meadow Dish commenced around 2017 to 2018, a period when they were mutuals on Tumblr. During this time, found herself battling the flu, and it was in this vulnerable state that Holly extended an offer to send a comforting card. Typically reserved about sharing personal information, influenced by the fact that Holly was acquainted with Kyle Carrozza, decided. The initial interactions were marked by an overwhelming barrage of attention from Holly. She inundated Ange's Facebook and Tumblr messages, as well as her feeds, with an excess of 40 posts, showcasing an abundance of art dedicated to Ange. Holly became a ubiquitous presence, commenting on every post and actively participating on Ange's blog. While this level of enthusiasm initially made Ange uncomfortable due to its intensity, she perceived Holly as an exceptionally enthusiastic individual, genuinely eager to lend support. As the dynamics of their interaction unfolded, Ange realized that she wasn't in a position to cultivate close online friendships at that juncture. Consequently, she opted to maintain a certain distance, though she appreciated Holly's well-intentioned gestures. However, the situation took a disconcerting turn when Holly, without prior notice, began utilizing Ange's address to dispatch more than the initially agreed-upon card. The escalating size and frequency of these unexpected gifts left Ange in a state of unease, caught between a sense of guilt and a reluctance to appear ungrateful. The intensity of Holly's affectionate gestures began to trigger memories for Ange, reminiscent of a past experience that involved grooming during a prior relationship. Compounding the complexity of the situation, Ange felt conflicted about maintaining ties with Holly, especially as the love bombing became increasingly reminiscent of a pattern she had encountered before. Notably, despite the age proximity between Holly and Ange, the discomfort stemmed more from the dynamics of friendships and relationships rather than any explicit adult minor concerns. The situation thus became a delicate balance between gratitude for the intended kindness and the need for the intended kindness and the need for establishing clear boundaries in light of past experiences. Despite Ange Vondra's explicit and polite requests for Holly Meadow Dish to cease her persistent and unwarranted actions, Holly continued to harass Ange, going so far as to persistently seek Ange's new address. Holly's behavior took a concerning turn as she employed manipulative tactics, particularly evident when Ange expressed positivity about her life. In response, Holly would launch into tirades about her own purported depression, creating a stark contrast that hinted at an attempt to diminish Ange's joy. The intervals between these unsettling incidents spoke volumes, revealing a pattern of behavior that Holly seemed determined to perpetuate. Even when Ange sought to understand and empathize with Holly's struggles, Holly consistently framed her own life as a constant struggle, employing a tactic of self-deprecation to garner sympathy and, perhaps, as a means of elevating her own sense of worth. Notably, Holly exhibited signs of envy, particularly regarding Ange's professional involvement with Kyle at Cartoon Network. As the interactions between Ange and Holly reached an impasse, communication eventually dwindled, giving way to an unsettling transformation in Holly's mindset. This fixation transformed into a darker, vengeful obsession. Holly, adopting the persona of a burner account named C010, took drastic measures, doxing on and divulging her identity within the Invader Zim fandom. Holly went further by issuing warnings on Twitter, painting Ange in a negative light and making baseless claims about her being a child predator. In early 2021, Holly admitted to receiving an angry message on Tumblr, questioning whether she felt satisfaction in the apparent ruin of someone's life, referring to the disturbing events involving Ange Vondra. Shockingly, Holly not only acknowledged this message but proceeded to display a concerning lack of remorse, taking to social media to boast about her perceived success in destroying another individual's life and career. In a caption of Mr. Burns sleeping accompanying her gloating post, she callously declared, "How I sleep at night knowing how I ruined someone's life and destroyed their career. Fuck around and find out, bitch," showcasing a disturbing and unapologetic attitude toward the harm inflicted upon another person. Holly Meadow-Dish's pattern of behavior, as demonstrated in her past accusation against an artist, reveals a concerning inclination toward unwarranted judgment and baseless allegations. In the mentioned incident, Holly accused an artist of being a fanboy of John Kricfalusi solely for depicting a Latina woman in their artwork. Notably, this accusation proved to be unfounded, as the artist had distanced themselves from Kricfalusi long before the public revelation of his scandal in 2018. Holly, in response to Kyle, also levied accusations against the aforementioned artist, alleging stalking behavior directed towards both her and Kyle. The irony lies in the fact that, at the time of the alleged stalking, Kyle was not on the artist's radar, having remained largely unconsidered for an extended period. This highlights Holly's predisposition to make hasty assumptions without proper investigation or consideration of the facts. It showcases a lack of nuance in her understanding of the situations she involves herself in, as well as a tendency to project her own biases onto others. In the convoluted saga involving Ange Vondra and artist Jay Goldstein, what initially unfolded as a candid discussion about Ange's NSFW Invader Zim art took an unexpected turn, revealing the complexities of interpersonal relationships, creative expression, and the misuse of concern. At the outset, Jay Goldstein pressed Ange on her artistic choices, insinuating that her work suggested predatory inclinations. Ange, transparent and vulnerable, clarified that her art was a coping mechanism for severe touch starvation and trauma. She emphasized her intention to explore dynamics, portraying characters as older individuals without any desire to harm or convey inappropriate intentions. In response, Jay expressed reservations about the perceived dangers of aging up characters, pledging not to call Ange out or see her hurt. Despite this assurance, he later severed their friendship, citing concerns for Ange's well-being. Ange, having sought guidance from a therapist, received validation that her artistic expression was healthy and therapeutic. The startling twist occurred when Jay, contradicting his earlier assurances, penned a call-out thread accusing Ange of being a predator. He claimed to have compiled evidence alongside Holly Meadow-Dish, asserting that delayed disclosure was driven by a purported concern for Ange's safety. The revelation that they had contacted all of Ange's former employers indicated a coordinated effort to brand her as dangerous. This includes Kyle Carrozza himself, who shared the art to his colleagues, and Cartoon Network Studios' employers. In the autumn of 2021, Ange Vondra took a courageous step in publicly calling out Kyle Carrozza, shedding light on a deeply unsettling breach of privacy. Accusing Carrozza of sharing her personal kinks with colleagues without her consent, Ange denounced the violation of her privacy while highlighting Carrozza's apparent self-serving agenda. This disturbing revelation laid bare a betrayal of trust within a professional context, as Carrozza allegedly exploited personal information for his own gain, tarnishing Vondra's reputation in the process. The aftermath of Ange's revelation brought forth a chilling response. Colleagues who were privy to the situation began giving her the cold shoulder, perpetuating a prolonged period of unexplained isolation. Adding to the distress, this ostracism manifested in passive-aggressive behavior, creating a hostile environment for Ange within her professional circles. While Ange's call-out initially gained traction, the subsequent narrative seemed to fade into the background over time. The consequences of Kyle Carrozza's actions took a devastating toll on Ange Vondra's life, extending beyond the realm of professional misconduct into the very fabric of her well-being. As a result of Kyle's actions, Ange lost vital health insurance, a critical component for her specialized medical treatment, which is not only exorbitantly expensive but also demands specialized care. The unavailability of this crucial resource left Ange in a precarious situation, exacerbating the challenges she already faced due to her health condition. In a distressing turn of events, Ange made a public announcement in September 2023, stating her intention to close down all avenues for donations and revealing her contemplation of suicide. This alarming revelation brought Kyle's blacklisting of Ange back into the public eye, prompting widespread condemnation on social media platforms, particularly Twitter. People voiced their outrage at Kyle's actions, calling him out for the impact on Ange's life and well-being. Amidst the public outcry, Kyle Carrozza, rather than addressing the mounting criticism directly, opted to delete a tweet in which he was seeking job applications and privatized his Twitter account. This move was interpreted by many as an attempt to avoid accountability for his actions. The situation escalated further when, on October 1, 2023, Kyle was announced as a guest at YumaCon. The YumaCon Twitter account faced a barrage of quote retweets and responses, with attendees and others threatening to boycott the convention if Kyle was allowed to participate. YumaCon initially responded by seemingly victim-blaming Ange and those advocating for her, asserting that the evidence presented in a Google document was insufficient. The convention overtly stood by Kyle, an approach that garnered significant backlash from the community. However, as the negative responses intensified, YumaCon ultimately rescinded Kyle's invitation, attributing the decision to the outcry and framing it as a move to protect him. This decision, coupled with an attempt to shift blame onto those expressing concern, fueled further discontent within the community, emphasizing the broader impact of the situation on both Ange and the public perception of those involved. In a not-so-surprising turn of events, Tony Goldmark, the creator of the web series Some Jerk with a Camera and host of the podcast Escape from Walt Disney, took a stance in defense of Kyle Carrozza. Goldmark characterized those seeking accountability for Kyle's actions as MAP, also known as minor attracted persons, and labeling them hyperbolic drama queens and libelous liars who purportedly lack real-world experience. The Twitter community responded critically to Goldmark's defense of Kyle. The controversy deepened when an old Pokemon parody web cartoon from 2003, created by Kyle, resurfaced. This cartoon featured explicit content involving May and Brock, contributing to the intensification of public scrutiny. In response to being directed to the explicit content, Tony Goldmark announced on Twitter that he would be taking a break and proceeded to block anyone who brought up the issue. This reaction further fueled discontent among those who expected a more responsible and empathetic response. Adding to the complexity, while the post is long since gone, there was a past incident in August 2023, where Kyle Carrozza had previously criticized Milton Knight for expressing displeasure on Facebook towards the Cuphead show. This incident highlighted a perceived inconsistency in Kyle's response to criticism, as he had previously shown a lack of tolerance for dissenting opinions within the creative community. Kink shaming is a severe violation of personal boundaries, eroding trust and disregarding consent. Kyle Carrozza's alleged act of sharing Ange Vondra's personal kinks without her consent goes beyond privacy infringement. It represents a betrayal of trust, contributing to a harmful environment. Sharing someone's personal kinks without consent is a profound breach of trust, critical in any relationship, personal or professional. Kyle's alleged actions disregard others' boundaries, creating an environment where individuals may fear judgment or betrayal in expressing their true selves. holding individuals accountable for such actions is crucial for fostering a culture of empathy. Kyle must face consequences for violating Ange's trust and privacy. In light of these actions, Kyle Carrozza, Holly Meadow Dish, and Jay Goldstein should be held accountable for their role in contributing to the distress that led to Ange's death. Their actions, both individually and collectively, had severe consequences and must be scrutinized with the gravity they deserve. Now, our scrutiny shifts to a figure of controversy within Kyle's network. Jane Amber, who also goes by the names Giga Jane, Omega Jane, and Life in the Fast Jane, the alliance between Jane and Kyle burgeoned subsequent to her resettlement in Los Angeles in 2021. While Jane remains on the periphery of the Ange Vondra narrative, it is essential to discern her profile as one marked by manipulative tactics and deceit, accompanied by a conspicuously murky personal history, a connection that places her firmly within Kyle's circle of associates. Formerly known as James Adam, she navigated the Kiwi Farms threads in her teenage years, notably within the mysterious Mr. Enter subforum, a fact she would later flaunt on her Twitter account. This early exposure in the digital landscape laid the foundation for her subsequent endeavors. Demonstrating a passion for art from a young age, Jane's creative pursuits materialized in the establishment of Bugville, a project she was so dedicated to that she even curated a Wikipedia page for it. However, her narrative takes a significant turn in 2019, marked by a sex change and a change in nomenclature to Jane. Operating under the username Meowtaindu, she experienced a fleeting moment of online prominence with a tweet asserting the perceived oppression of gamers. The turning point in Jane's trajectory occurred when the New Guy comic by Mallory Jessica Udishas overshadowed her momentary fame. This marked the onset of a disturbing descent into turmoil, as she resorted to leveraging discussions around suicide. In a subsequent tweet, she claimed law enforcement conducted a wellness check, leading to a brief sojourn in a patient facility. Jane's online expressions during this period delved into a passionate diatribe against individuals espousing woke ideologies who were offended by trans people on edgy, irony-infused spaces such as Kiwi Farms and 4chan, who spam the N-word. She expressed a vehement disdain, labeling them as obnoxious cunts. In a disconcerting sequence of events, Jane, operating under the alias Meowtaindu, left her online audience bewildered and concerned. Through her main account, she ominously hinted a possibility of facing imprisonment without providing any context, leaving followers in suspense for an extended 12-hour period. However, the distressing revelations did not end there. On her then private account, L'Aggressive Reft, Jane took a darker turn by publicly disclosing an act of self-harm involving a box cutter. Shockingly, she weaponized the topic of suicide, leveraging it to dissuade people from distancing themselves. A deeply troubling claim emerged, wherein Jane warned her audience that she had allegedly stabbed her own father with the same knife, an assertion that further intensified the gravity of the situation. In an apparent attempt to offset her precarious circumstances, Jane initiated a commission sheet, displaying an inconsistency in pricing that raised eyebrows. The range of fees varied from $5 to an exorbitant $60, creating a logical incongruity in her financial approach. The intricacies of Jane's financial history added another layer to the narrative. An ex-friend, expressing their experience in a Discord server on October 15, 2020, recounted providing Jane with $50 and an additional $25 for a commission that was never completed. This raised pertinent questions about the transparency and integrity of Jane's financial dealings. Further complicating matters, Jane had initiated a crowdfunding effort in April 2020, citing homelessness as the impetus. However, the subsequent revelation that she had found an apartment implied substantial financial support, with indications suggesting the involvement of her parents. This was underscored by Jane's conspicuous ownership of electronics, her nonchalant mockery of the perceived high cost of the PlayStation 5, and her boasting about game purchases. In a deeply unsettling expose, Cake Bunny, a former confidant of Jane Amber, took to social media to unravel a disturbing tapestry of revelations about Jane's character. The exposed screen caps, retrieved from a Discord server that Jane hastily deleted, laid bare a shocking collection of death threats, violent fantasies, and explicit plans to harm others, including the use of racial slurs, notably the reprehensible N-word, and disturbing wishes for harm upon black individuals. Unveiling an even more sinister layer to the narrative, Jane's calculated manipulation was exposed. She was found to be contemplating a deceptive ploy to exploit left-leaning sentiments, considering a false presentation of herself as a mixed African-American non-binary pansexual, gender-fluid woman. This purportedly homeless individual, terminated from employment due to anti-Trump sentiments, planned to tag individuals supporting social justice causes, revealing a callous attempt to manipulate empathy for personal gain. The gravity of Jane's erratic behavior reached new heights when she openly admitted to harboring thoughts of committing an act of terrorism, back in 2018, proposing to bomb Insomniac Games, an alarming revelation with severe implications. Jane's reprehensible conduct didn't stop there. She proceeded to derogate numerous friends who had offered support and still support her to this very day during various phases of her life. Notably, she made derogatory comments about Vicky, acknowledging positive traits while criticizing her lack of initiative and broken sleep schedule. The situation took a darker turn when she targeted Cora Hansen, formerly known as Corey, questioning their gender identity and expressing annoyance with their political views. Her vitriol extended to Lane, accused of holding undesirable political perspectives, and vain Flores Castellanos, Miss Jazz DeFunk, whom she accused of parroting opinions without critical thought. The tirade continued with insults directed at Carly Melder, Carly Cartoons, Jane's purported best friend, revealing a contradictory relationship with private animosity. Further exposing her duplicitous nature, Jane insulted Dimitri using ableist slurs, criticized Uber for being pervy, stupid, and creepy, yet polite, and spared no one in her scathing assessment of others in her social circle. These revelations not only exposed the insidious nature of Jane's true character but also shed light on a disturbing pattern of manipulation and opportunism. In a shocking expose of Jane's disturbing behavior, it has been revealed that she not only attempted to swat one of Cake Bunny's friends but also engaged in a deeply troubling feud with her former friend Sophie Narwitz. Sophie, who extended a helping hand during Jane's transition to being transgender, had recognized the potential in Jane's art career and even contemplated commissioning some of her work. However, the relationship soured when Sophie uncovered Jane's deception of faking suicide attempts. Unwilling to tolerate such manipulative behavior, Sophie made the decision to sever ties, ejecting Jane from her public Discord server. Jane, in a reprehensible act, publicly exposed Sophie's personal struggles, including a traumatic incident that led to her discharge from the army due to a violent rape that permanently damaged her bladder. Instead of showing empathy, Jane callously wished revenge upon Sophie, expressing desires for her death and even going as far as to hypothetically suggest a drive-by shooting, coupled with disturbing comments about deserving to be raped. The context leading to Jane's use of suicide threats for leverage further amplifies the disturbing nature of her actions. Sophie, concerned for Jane's well-being, offered constructive advice to redirect her focus toward art. In response, Jane manipulated the situation, leveraging threats of self-harm to maintain control and avoid accountability. Jane's problematic behavior extended beyond personal feuds, revealing a troubling pattern of arrogance and disdain for her industry peers. Boasting about an alleged IQ of 380, she brazenly claimed intellectual superiority over fellow artists, using racially offensive language on Discord. Expressing frustration with her industry friends, Jane openly disparaged them as dumb, showcasing a lack of professionalism and respect for those she collaborated with. Her disdain further escalated when she seemingly fell prey to unfounded conspiracy theories, dismissing the severity of the COVID-19 pandemic and echoing baseless claims. The deterioration of her relationships was accompanied by mocking remarks aimed at former associates, such as Avi aka Formidable Trap, revealing a lack of empathy and a propensity for derogatory language. Disturbingly, evidence surfaced that Jane attempted to use personal phone numbers to bully individuals and their acquaintances, a reprehensible tactic that further underscored her questionable character. In a revealing post, she criticized one of her friends for engaging with content on kiwi farms, dismissing it as autistic people spurging about how other autistic people are retarded. Additionally, Jane's expressed views on social and political matters, such as her derogatory comments about the Black Lives Matter movement, calling them faggy, and ambivalence toward former President Trump, hinted at a divisive and concerning mindset. Jane's troubling behavior extended beyond interpersonal conflicts, delving into deeply inappropriate and concerning territory. The initial innocuous discussion about converting a friend's brother into a Ratchet and Clank fan took an alarming turn when Jane disclosed her newfound interest in Ratchet and Clank fanfiction. The explicit details she shared about her supposed fondness for Ratchet's anatomy ventured into inappropriate and predatory territory, indicative of grooming behavior and potential pedophilia. Further exacerbating the gravity of the situation, Jane callously expressed intentions to introduce the friend's brother to Ratchet and Clank-themed adult content. It not only demonstrates a gross violation of appropriate boundaries but also hints at a disturbing pattern of behavior that includes potential exploitation. Equally troubling was Jane's cavalier discussion about engaging in acts of terrorism and causing harm. Her expressed desire to go out in a blaze of glory in response to a video game raises red flags regarding her mental state and potential for violence. In another disconcerting revelation, Jane outlined plans to vandalize a friend's property with a homophobic slur, adding theft to her list of contemplated crimes. The explicit threats made against Sophia, leveraging suicide as a manipulative tool, and encouraging violence by telling Hunter to beat someone to death underscore a deeply concerning and volatile mindset. Cora had openly expressed deep concern over Jane Amber's behavior, revealing the toll it has taken on her both mentally and physically. In a candid acknowledgement, Cora admitted that Jane is not entirely blameless in the unfolding situation. However, Cora raised the alarm that someone with an apparent vendetta is exploiting these revelations as ammunition against Jane. In an unsettling disclosure from April 2020, Jane initiated an unsettling conversation with her ex-friend Avi. In this exchange, Jane took an invasive turn by asking Avi if they had an interest in seeing her hormone replacement therapy photos and went on to disclose details about her developing breasts. Avi, understandably uncomfortable with this request, politely declined. While Jane initially offered an apology, this incident set the stage for a more troubling interaction later in the year. Fast forward to September 2020, Avi confronted Jane after learning from Yiffy that Jane had been spamming her Curious Cat inbox with inappropriate inquiries about diaper-related matters and negative comments. During this confrontation, Jane admitted to engaging in discussions with her friend Harper about ways to disturb Avi. Harper issued an apology for their actions but remained under suspicion due to their association with Jane's Kiwi Farms thread. Further admissions from Jane included her acknowledgement of actively liking a post that disparaged Avi's appearance, a deliberate attempt to upset her. As Avi pressed Jane for reasons behind these actions, Jane accused Avi of being a bully who picks fights and asserted that she merely retaliated. Avi countered, revealing that it was Jane who made their issues public and reminded Jane of her prior request for space. Avi then shared a screenshot from their earlier conversation in April, where Jane accused her of being transphobic. However, Avi refuted these claims, clarifying that her discomfort was not rooted in transphobia but rather a personal aversion to penises, with no intent to generalize this discomfort towards transgender individuals. In a detailed account, Jane disclosed an incident involving a commission request from Avi. Initially, the process appeared to proceed smoothly, but a hiccup emerged when, on the third occasion, Avi expressed annoyance over a price adjustment and a forgotten detail, leading to a block by Jane. According to Jane, Avi, with the assistance of Smigruko, allegedly orchestrated a campaign to quote her tweets selectively, resulting in a substantial backlash from the online community. Despite the incident occurring a year ago, Jane asserted that Avi and their friend Mineral maintain a lingering animosity. Jane attributed Mineral's resentment to an earlier comment where she suggested Avi could be misconstrued as transphobic out of context. To exacerbate matters, Jane claimed that Avi, Mineral, or both intermittently create alternative accounts to criticize her artwork and revisit past confrontations. Jane then contended a soured friendship with Mineral unfolded when she allegedly transitioned from overt friendliness to confrontational behavior after Jane gently pointed out communication issues. This shift prompted Jane to block both Avi and Mineral 3 months prior to the recent revelations. Avi took to their former Twitter account to expose Jane's fabrications, emphatically refuting Jane's claim that they enlisted Smug to make disparaging comments about others. Avi clarified that they only had one alternative account, the one that resulted in their suspension. In a candid disclosure, Avi outlined the 3 accounts in their possession: the main account, a sole alternate account functioning as a backup, and a private account that had not been previously disclosed. Addressing Jane's alleged camaraderie with Mineral, Avi contested that Jane's friendship with Mineral dissolved only when Mineral sided with Avi on a particular issue. Avi then underscored Jane's selective approach to apologies, noting that Jane had expressed remorse to Vic Oreno for commission-related matters but had neglected to extend the owed apology to Avi. Jane took to Discord messages to embark on a tangent that went well beyond professional boundaries, including her own personal fetishes. She gratuitously disclosed that Dave Cunningham, the storyboard supervisor of SpongeBob, had followed her on Twitter, but her expectation of a job offer without merit seemed to reveal a misguided sense of entitlement. This was followed by an abrupt shift into highly explicit discussions about her sexual fantasies. The situation took a darker turn when Jane proceeded to make egregiously racist jokes, including offensive comments about Jewish people and the gratuitous use of racial slurs. This alarming behavior was further compounded by instances of suicide baiting, showcasing a disturbing pattern in her communication. Jane didn't stop there. She went on to boast about an internet boyfriend, claiming he ended the relationship after merely a week due to her proposition to show him her feet. In a shocking display of bigotry, she asserted controversial and derogatory opinions about non-binary individuals, referring to some as weird trans women or trans men that claim the label. She further used derogatory terms like soy boys to describe individuals, including Peter Coffin and someone named Miggs, perpetuating harmful stereotypes. Adding to the chaos, Jane called out professional artist Kytrin Snodgrass, criticizing her for highlighting the virtue signaling of showrunners while suggesting implicit racial biases. Jane eagerly anticipated the creation of Sophia Narwitz's Kiwi Farms thread, expressing an unsettling desire for the discussion to include details about her inappropriate interests. This disturbing revelation highlighted Jane's apparent fixation on personal and potentially damaging information being publicly discussed. The depth of Jane's troubling behavior was further illuminated when Sophie Narwitz posted a video detailing a dangerous situation she had experienced, expressing fear of physical harm. In a shocking and callous response, Jane callously expressed a wish that Sophie had indeed been physically assaulted. During the summer of 2021, Jane orchestrated a strategic reinvention, relocating to Los Angeles and adopting the persona of Giga Jane. This calculated move included enrolling in LCAD and engaging in social circles that prominently featured individuals she had previously disparaged, notably Cora Hansen and Carly Melder. Jane's ability to seamlessly integrate herself into these circles, despite a documented history of backbiting against her newfound companions, raises questions about the authenticity of her interactions. The selective amnesia regarding past grievances seems designed to facilitate a fresh start in her new environment. A striking facet of her transformation involved a sudden embrace of left-wing ideologies, accompanied by a conspicuous display of courage, as if transitioning politically was a brave act in itself. This shift, however, appears more as a calculated strategy to align herself with prevailing sentiments in liberal-leaning LA rather than a genuine ideological evolution. The fall of 2021 saw Jane making a public remark on a Family Guy pro-vaccine ad shared by animator Jay Lender. Her comment, expressing hope for an overlap between vaccine skepticism and the persuasive power of the ad, starkly contrasts with her previous insinuations that COVID was a hoax just a year earlier. Notably, during Keffel's harassment ordeal, Jane exhibited a degree of selective empathy, praising Keffels for her strength and resilience under scrutiny. This commendation seemed oblivious to Jane's own history of similar harassment campaigns, raising doubts about the sincerity of her support. In 2023, Jane actively participated in New Deal 4 animation rallies alongside her industry peers. Additionally, between 2022 and 2023, she was frequently photographed with her close friends, including Kyle Carrozza, the subject of this expose. In a September 2023 tweet, Jane made derogatory remarks about branding Kiwi Farms and 4chan users as autistic individuals who harbor self-hatred, echoing past ableist comments she made prior to relocating to LA. The critical moment unfolded in October 2023 following the Israel/Hamas conflict. Voice actress Tara Strong, part of the Boxtown Project's voice cast, posted pro-Israel tweets. Jane intentionally shared Strong's tweets in her server, knowing Star, who was an animator on Boxtown, is a member there, in hopes to get Tara fired. Jane justified firing individuals with conflicting values, and condemned Joe Biden for pro-Israel sentiments, despite her own racist history and prior terrorist threats. Jane also made inflammatory remarks about Walt Disney, and when William Salyers defended Tara, Jane remarked, "You know who else is beating Will's ass in the QRTs?" Mayamon, in the quote retweets, "Tara stands without a defense. Her expressed sentiments were unequivocally racist and reprehensible, deserving the consequences that followed. Personally, I harbor no sympathy for her plight." But Jane's actions seem driven by a self-serving agenda, diverting attention from her own controversial history and attempting to portray herself as heroic. The permanence of Internet archives ensures that Jane's past wrongdoings persist, irrespective of attempts to deny or erase them. The association between Kyle Carrozza and Jane, given her disturbing history of intimidation, violence, and pedophilia, casts a glaring light on the glaring hypocrisy within Kyle's actions. As a figure with influence and industry standing, Kyle is expected to set an example for others, and many within the industry have regarded him with respect and admiration. However, the stark contradiction emerges when examining his decision to befriend someone with Jane's history. This, coupled with his documented abusive treatment towards Anjvandra, raises serious questions about Kyle's integrity and the standards he upholds. The industry looks to individuals like Kyle for leadership and ethical conduct, making it all the more disappointing when such figures appear to align themselves with individuals whose actions run counter to these expectations. It is imperative that instances of abuse, such as the treatment of Anjvandra, are brought to the forefront of public awareness. Kyle's questionable choices in associating with someone like Jane not only tarnish his own reputation but also reflect poorly on the animation community at large. People must speak up against abuse, and industry figures like Kyle should be held accountable for their actions.